Hello, Mr. Gale here, and this is another one of my projects on my 1964 Lotus Elan. In this video, and probably a couple following on, I'm going to install an electric water pump. Lotus Elans are notorious for water pumps failing. The bad news about that is, unlike most cars, the water pump is built into a case that's attached to the cylinder head and to the body pan. So to change the water pump, or to fix it, you have to pull the head and drop the pan, or it'd probably be easier just to pull the engine and then dismantle it. Anyway, I'm going to try something different. Like I said, I bought a water pump system, which I'll show you in a few minutes on how to, or what's going to be my project. I replaced it with an electric water pump. This is new to me. I've never done it. I know very little bit about it, but I know that there's other Lotus people that have done it, plus other auto people. Anyway, let me stop for a minute. I'm going to go ahead, move the camera over, and I'll show you what the problem is. Here's a close-up view of the front of my engine and the water pump. As you can, here's the problem. You should be able to tell that when I move the fan blade, the whole bearing is moving. So that means it's going bad. Fortunately, it's not leaking water, so the seal's still good. I just can't drive it anymore like it is right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up removing the fan blade, the pulley, and go into a shorter belt, which will go just to the crank and to the alternator. Let me put you back on hold again. Okay, moving right along. This is the kit I bought. It's from a company called Davis and Craig. They're out of Australia. I bought it, and I was amazed how fast I received it. It'll take like 4 or 5 days to get all the way from Australia. So I thought it was very good. Anyway, let me show what's inside. Instruction book, which being a man, I'll probably never read. Here's the pump itself. It's actually quite smaller than I thought it was going to be, but yeah, it's kind of neat. Not too much weight to it. Input, output, or I'm sorry, this is output, this is input. Pretty straightforward. This is a controller. It actually controls the water flow itself based on the temperature of the engine, and it'll also control the fan if need be. The way it's set now, I believe, is I set this for however hot I want to run the engine. Let's say it's 180 degrees Fahrenheit I want to run it. So I guess 190, then it'll kick in the electric fan. I think it's 10 degrees above whatever I set in here. Anyway, I'll figure that out later on. Also has a sensor goes in the pipe. It's going to go, or the hose that goes from the radiator to the engine goes in line with that. And there's a temperature sensor in here. It screws into that, and of course the wires hook on the back, and that feeds the controller. And there again, that's going to measure the temperature so it knows when to turn the fan on. Wire bundle. It's got a bunch of wires: battery, plus, minus, relay, ignition, pump itself, ground wires, etc. And of course a lot of miscellaneous adapters for hooking hoses up and all rings and a bunch of other stuff that I have no idea what's for yet. Gee, I might even have to read the manual, who knows. Probably not, but anyway, let me show you what else I have to buy. This is just the pump part of itself. Next is a fan. This is only an 8-inch fan. It's kind of a small, dinky little guy. I hope it's enough, but if it's not, that's okay, because I'm probably going to set it so it's pushing through the radiator, because I think that'd be easier to do than try to suck it. Because the distance between the radiator and the engine's real tight anyway, so it might be better in front. If I mount it there, I can mount it off to one side. And if it's not enough fan, I could buy a second one set right beside it. So 2 fans would certainly be enough. But anyway, it's worth trying with just a single fan and see how that works out. Moving right along. Of course, I need some sort of piping, and I found this, which I think is kind of neat. It's stainless steel flexible piping. Here's one of the pieces from the motor itself. I already attached it just to see how it would work out. It's going to go from there, past the radiator, then either to the water pump itself, Then from there, then also need one goes from the bottom of the pump, goes right to the radiator, so it makes a complete loop. Anyway, so it looks quite. Once I get the links figured out, then I can just cut it. This has these adapters for attaching. It's got some different size sleeves for different size radiators and what have you. So it looks like it might be a pretty good slick idea. Anyway, that's the parts I've got right now. The only thing I'm missing is the fan belt, which is on its way. It should be here in a couple days. Anyway, I'm going to stop the video now and start taking things apart. When I get to the point where it makes more sense to continue on, I'll start another video. Okay, moving right along, I've removed the radiator, and after I did that, I discovered that the alternator, it's a Lucas alternator that I installed years ago. Anyway, the bracket for it interfered with the fan belt just going from the alternator to the crank. So that means I had to do something different. What I did is, let me go over here to where my alternators are. Here's the stock Lucas alternator. See if we can get it in focus. Make sure there's anything. There we go. And it's kind of hard to see, but the bracket itself has this dog leg that sticks out where it's attached to the engine, and the belt just going from an alternator to the crank would interfere with that. So what I did is I bought this small alternator. I think it's off a tractor or a lawnmower or some darn thing. Anyway, it's supposed to be puts out about twice as much power as the standard Lucas one does. Unfortunately, when I didn't have a bracket for it to mount to the engine, so that's why I put the Lucas one back on. Anyway, this kind of forced me to make a bracket, which I did, and now it clears no problem. The only problem I'm really having right now is trying to find a fan belt for it. I've got one that's too short, one's a little too long, so let's mess around and see if I can find one the proper length. I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but anyway, that's one thing I've got to do. Okay, my next project is to get the radiator back in and start hooking up the electric water pump. Be back. Okay, now it's time to mount the fan to the radiator. This is the engine side of the radiator. I think on my previous video I mentioned that I should probably put it on the other side. Well, I've got plenty of room. This thing is not very thick, so I think it'll be better airflow, and it'll probably be a little neater installation to put it between the engine and the radiator. How am I putting it in there? What I'm using are these little washers that you would out of my plumbing supply kit, where I would use for fixing faucets. The screws go in the faucet for turn them up. Get some flat ones. I got some flat ones, and I got these concave, or these pyramid shape, I guess you would call them, ones. And what I did is I put one of the small flat ones underneath between the radiator and the fan. Then I just run the zip tie through both of them like this. And on the other side, well, I'll do the same thing. I won't need to use the inner ones, but on the outer ones, I'll just put these on the other side of the zip tie. Then use a second zip tie, just the end of it, to lock it in place, and then just cut this off and cut off the excess of this. Anyway, it should be really simple to do, and I think it'll be fine. It's not very heavy. There's not much stress on it. It won't damage the radiator or with it falling off. Anyway, if one fan's not enough, I'm going to put it to the side, so I got plenty of room to put a second fan if I need it. The original fan is so small, and I never really had a heating problem, so I'm hoping this will be adequate, but I guess I'll find out. Anyway, I'll be back. I got the alternator installed. As it turns out, my longest fan belt looks like it's going to be just fine. I had to make a bracket to hold the alternator. It's kind of a temporary situation. I think I'll see if I can find a rose joint or something of those guys to try to get better adjustment on that. Anyway, so now I got plenty of room. Got to reroute some of this wiring. It's starting to be a real rat's nest down here in the front. But I got plenty of wires to run for the pump and for the radiator, so I think I'll wait till I get all that together before I do. Also, as a side note, in one of my videos I showed how to make an actuator for the electric headlights. It was difficult to show the actuator itself as it was installed. So here's a good picture of it. You can see where it's mounted, the bracket in front there, and then it goes up. There's the arm that goes across. This is, of course, for sail face headlights. But it works really well. I'm really pleased the way that turned out. Anyway, back to the subject. Now, what I need to do, put the radiator back in and then go ahead and start doing my plumbing. Shouldn't be too bad. I already tested a little bit. It looks like it's going to go pretty fairly well. But we'll see how it goes. Thanks. Well, after I got everything torn apart and started putting my pipe in, I discovered there's just not a lot of room down here. This pipe on the radiator kind of goes up at an angle. Of course, this one goes straight out. Then I have to go between the radiator to get to the front because the pump's going to mount up here in the front someplace. Anyway, my nice little flexible pipes are, I think I'd use it for the top hose. With the bottom hose, I'd get very creative. Now what I ended up doing is making a, you can see it there, copper tubing pipe. One it'll have attached to the radiator output down here, and then it'll go past the radiator and then connect to the pump, which will sit right down in here somewhere. Anyway, that's where I'm right now. Let me go ahead and get it all hooked up and I'll continue. Well, good news. I got everything hooked up and it seems to be working just fine. Of course, now my next job is to neaten things up. I got wires running everywhere. Anyway, I'll try to zoom in and show you how it's connecting. It's really tight in here. So on the bottom hose where it comes out of the radiator, that is the actual hose that was on there originally. And all I did is cut it a little bit and then hooked it up to my piece of 1-inch copper pipe that I talked about earlier. And that then runs in the front underneath there and is connected to the pump. You can see there's the pipe right there, and then it's connected to the pump itself. The output went out, and then I used one of my little nifty flexible stainless steel hoses. Came up, then it goes right to the engine. So anyway, I've driven it a little ways. I don't have a lot of miles on it, but I've driven it some, and it seems to be fine. The temperature has a controller. I set the temperature about 185 degrees. Maybe it was 180, something like that anyway. And it seems to hold it just fine. The fan's on the other side over there, mounted. There again, I get the wiring straight out. And that is the other end of the radiator. And what I did is whoops, let me try to get this focus right. Zoom out a little bit. There's a temperature sensor right there in that block right there in the center that has a wire, and that runs back underneath through the firewall, underneath the dash. I had to put a relay in series with it because the controller won't handle that kind of current. So I actually ended up putting 2 relays since I was multitasking on this job. It turns out that the alternator also needed a relay. If I didn't, my battery just drained through the fields on the alternator. So I ended up putting 2 relays underneath my dash, which is fine. Neat thing about it is it stops again. Now when I stop, the fan will kick in and it'll actually cool the motor down while it's with the key off. So it's kind of slick. Dissipates the heat and then it'll turn itself off. Anyway, I'm pleased the way it came out. Like I said, now it's a matter of cleaning things up. I got to get all this wiring sorted out and tied together and what have you, neatened up. So it looks pretty good. Anyway, that's the project, and so far I'm pleased with it. It came out pretty good. I think the fan's gonna be fine. If it gets to the point where it's still running too hot, then I got plenty of room to put a second fan over here if I want to. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks. Later.